Yo.
It's happening again.
It is.
What's happening again?
Riots in the streets.
Oh, yeah. Minneapolis.
Yep. Same place.
Maxiopolis.
Maxiopolis.
It's one of the twin cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So-called.
Twinned with what?
St. Paul. St. Paul is the capital of the next state, but they're either side of the river. No, twin cities. That's
just one big city.
I don't know. Once was coincidence. Twice, it's just more coincidence.
It's more coincidence.
It's another coincidence.
Does anyone know? Like, was this happening? Just the basic context. Was this similar to Renee Good and her lesbian friends when they were actively trying to interfere with a raid / sweep on a particular street, or were these guys
That's all that
at the side of the large? Because there was a massive protest. There was 100,000 plus on the streets in Minneapolis protesting ICE yesterday. Was it part of
after
that?
This?
I was sparked by this.
Of course.
Okay, I know. I heard it. The two happened simultaneously. It wasn't one like there was one planned for yesterday, and then this happened on the sidelines of it, or happened on the sidelines of interfering with.
People are out all the time. It's been going on all the time. Like, people are out on the streets trying to interfere with ICE in Minneapolis. Like, it hasn't stopped since Rennie Good. Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Any comments? Anyone want to take this anywhere? Are we going to talk about it?
Well, it just seemed like
I mean, the last one spurred so much discussion in the US. This one is it equally Schrodinger's gunshot?
No, definitely not.
Doesn't look that way. It looks just more of like the protests are getting bigger now. Obviously in reaction. And also, I think Tim Walz made a statement afterwards.
Oh, well then. Tim Walz made a statement. Stop the press.
Yeah.
Midway
but it
Tim
was...
Walz.
Yeah, where...
LARPer Tim Walz.
He's trying to, tell everybody, get out of my state. This is my state.
What? He's telling who to get out of his state?
ICE.
Oh, he wants ICE out of his state?
Yeah.
But was he not supportive of ICE in the last shooting of Rennie Good? Did he not come down on she tried to kill him?
I don't know.
Don't know. Don't care either. This is the cause of it here. That's it right there.
So yeah, just systemic decay in the US.
ICE when you're too scared to when you're too scared to join the army and too dumb to be a cop. Ooh, it's like a hot potato.
Hot
But they're brave soldiers out there trying to defend the homeland from the immigrants. Don't you get it?
Yeah.
So which is it, Adam?
What?
Which is it? Is it that these are just a bunch of yahoos who are too scared to join the army and too dumb to be a cop, so they join ICE and then they end up shooting people, as you might expect it? Or are they that thin blue line on the wall protecting our freedoms, and you can't handle the truth?
You as in...
you, everybody. You, me, everybody. You can't handle the truth.
We all, as a collective, you cannot handle the truth that is...
that these guys are out there while you sleep comfortably in your bed. They're out there protecting you from the...
caravans of migrants.
From the, coming to take you away.
Well,
it's one or the other. Which is it?
I think I would say that it's
black or white, like.
It's 100% they're protecting our freedoms.
Okay. 100% that.
100% they're protecting our freedoms.
And what percentage is it that they're too dumb to be a cop and too scared to join the army? And that's why they join ICE. And this kind of thing's going to happen.
I'm going to go with 20%.
You're going to go 100% in that one too.
I'm going to go with 120%. No, I don't really know what because I've interacted with, army guys, I've interacted with police officers, but I've never interacted with ICE. So I don't really actually have any firsthand experience with them to know one way or another whether or not they are.
Neither do I, but it's, I mean, my blink on the situation, and I think it's, I think it's accurate because it's my blink, right? It may not be, but
it wouldn't be your blink if it was.
That a significant number of people in ICE are just people who have taken up the call that was put out to fill the ranks of this relatively new agency, I suppose. And obviously they're not Border Patrol. They claim themselves to be Border Patrol. If you're Border Patrol, you should be on the border. Unless it's a border between states. I'm pretty sure they mean the border with Mexico. So they're not Border Patrol when they're about 2,000 miles from the border. They're not patrolling any borders. They're a bit far away unless they've got very high-powered binoculars. They're not actually patrolling the border. So these are more like, they're immigration control, let's say, but not on the border. They're basically people who are hired, and they obviously have some kind of background, whatever. But I think a lot of them, a significant number of them, are people who signed up to ICE in the aftermath of the call being put out to join ICE, basically, because we have this immigrant problem because of the last, I don't know how many years of of messaging, particularly to conservatives, that our country is under attack from immigration, and these people are like Trump. How many times have you heard Trump say they're sending their criminals and their rapists and their murderers and there's all these crimes occurring as a result of these immigrants, illegal immigrants, and these guys are just have said, "Hooyah, lock and load, kick the tires and light the fires. Let's go.
Shoot first, ask questions
Let's
later."
go and get them immigrants." And, well enough intention in that respect, because who's going to argue that there probably is an immigration problem in the US, an illegal immigration problem in the US that has been going on for quite a long time. Started under, well, who knows who it started under, to be honest. Probably started a long time ago, yeah, Clinton's. But gained traction. And the problem here is that it's a difficult situation, because I have sympathy for people who want to deal with large amounts of illegal immigration and criminality, etc., that comes along with that in any country. Not necessarily saying that they should all want an ethno state, or that they do want an ethno state. I don't know if most of them actually want that. They just want to control immigration, because there's one thing. Immigration is one thing. A multicultural society, which America is one thing. Large amounts of illegal immigration and ne'er-do-wells or unsavory types coming into your country in large numbers is probably something that any reasonable person would say, well, this should be curtailed. But the reason it happened, the reason this has happened in America and in Europe and in other countries over the past X number of years and really gained traction in the last 10 years, let's say, is largely economic. You can posit some kind of great replacement theory, as Tucker Carlson does, and all that kind of stuff, and evil people trying to destroy the white race and all that kind of stuff. But people that go there immediately don't stop at the very obvious economic motivations that both governments and large businesses have for liberalizing, let's say, immigration policies. So you bring in you bring in manpower primarily to do
keep wages low,
to do the jobs and keep wages low. It's kind of like a version of whenever they do offshoring. Like they've been offshoring as part of Trump's Done Road doctrine, is like reshoring, making America great again by bringing manufacturing back to America, because for all these years there's been all this offshoring of businesses outside into India and freaking Pakistan and everywhere else around the world where all the manufacturing happens. And American companies doing that, and Trump wants to bring it back, and the reason they do that, the reason the offshoring happens, is because wages and overheads and just cost of production basically is much cheaper overseas in other countries where wages are much lower, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to ship raw materials to you, they're already there. So one way you can do, because it's very, very expensive to reshore for these companies that have set up abroad a long time ago. So one alternative to solve that problem, it's kind of like a half measure in a certain sense. It's just, well, let's just bring the immigrants in and pay them the low wages here, because that's why we offshored in the first place. One of the reasons we offshored in the first place is to pay people less wages and maximize our profits. So short of actually bringing all those offshore companies or offshore production back to America, let's just bring the people that do the cheap labor elsewhere to America, and that'll be like a kind of half measure, right? So it's kind of funny but it's economic, and it's difficult, So it's been it's portrayed by the Trump government, especially being a conservative government and all that kind of stuff, and make America great again, and portrayed as, I don't know if they've said it explicitly, but the message that people have received is that it's not just about jobs, it's also about our identity as Americans and, the white race, the white American. identity being watered down by so many immigrants coming in. But that's not really the reason. I mean, that's an emotional appeal in a certain sense to people, because it really make you feel like your own identity is under threat and all this kind of stuff. And whether or not that's true, that's the great replacement idea. That's pretty Machiavellian. But I think, like I said, people who go there immediately don't stop at the economic explanation for it. So it made sense, and a lot of people supported it. A lot of people in government supported it, probably Republicans as well. And businesses, obviously, were fully on board with it. And they've been doing it for X number of years now. And now the problem is, or the question is, okay, we're going to undo it all. Not so easy.
There's a statement from Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, at the World Economic Forum, in which he seems to say that, maybe I should just listen to it. It almost sounds like he's making the case that the economics of mass migration, like he's seen the light, and that it's no longer the case, and that those countries best positioned in future will be those that have almost zero inward mass migration. So it's a good thing he's saying this in Switzerland and not in the US, because it would make your head explode. Because, yeah, the economic argument is, Chuck Schumer said it explicitly a couple of years ago. For the first time, a politician actually articulated that as the reason for it.
Well, Europeans have said it as well.
This is Larry Fink in Switzerland this week.
We always used to think shrinking population is a cause for negative growth. But in my conversations with the leadership of these large developed countries that have xenophobic immigration policies, they don't allow anybody to come in, shrinking unemployment, shrinking demographics, these countries will rapidly develop robotics and AI and technology. And if the promise, I didn't say it's going to happen, but if the promise of all that transforms productivity, which most of us think it will, we'll be able to elevate the standard of living of countries and the standard of living of individuals, even with shrinking populations. And so the paradigm of negative population growth is going to be changing. And the social problems that one will have in substituting humans for machines is going to be far easier in those countries that have declining populations.
Oh, shock revelation. I mean, so they couldn't foresee this. These people spend like billions and billions every year, like governments as well, and private institutions spend billions every year on in think tanks and policy makers and all this kind of to plan for the future and see the future. And this guy's basically saying that he didn't know that the AI revolution or the technological revolution, which obviously is ongoing since 80 years ago, and so these guys couldn't predict that there would be much more automation in the future,
and less need for cheap labor.
You won't need the labor, and then in fact at that point, when there's a lot more automation, your labor or your countries with a large population actually have a problem, because the utopia that we're all supposedly heading into, the AI or automated utopia that we're heading into, is one where machines are doing the vast majority of all the manufacturing and work, and therefore countries with a much smaller population are going to have a lot less problems in terms of finding out what are you going to do with all those people who don't have any jobs anymore, don't have anything to do anymore. It's just that becomes a drain on the, because it's going to be some kind, I suppose there's going to be some kind of social welfare, a universal basic wage or something like that, where everybody, all these people who don't work anymore are going to have their living costs provided for. If they're not actually working for them, they're going to have to get money somehow. So the fewer people you have in that situation in a country, the less strain that is on the infrastructure of the country and the economic
and the more xenophobic a country's policies, the more harmonious and stable the basis for increased productivity. Now, to give him the most mundane, leeway, he's just the way he presented, he's just realizing that he's kind of gone, God, I've gone out in the world, and the economic assumptions we had back in the West that we need to flood the place with much more labor for the future, for this time. It's interesting. I'm seeing a different model work here. That's giving him the most. So you rich Arabs and Chinese, you opened my eyes to other possibilities.
But Larry Fink couldn't see it. Like, he's the one who he's got his finger on the pulse of all this, and we're expected to believe he didn't foresee this. The one that's why in the country that probably invests the most in policy, future policy planning, and all that kind of stuff, they couldn't see this coming.
So that's when you go, actually, we need to open up to Machiavellian possibilities.
Right. Yeah. That they brought them in for
Larry Fink
motives.
is, of course, of a certain ethnicity, and that opens up into the Great Replacement thing. Those xenophobic policies of non-Western countries, he's saying, oh gosh, that places you in good stead after all.
Because it's only white people that are anti-Semitic, right? So if you water down the societies of white people and mix them up with a bunch of brown, tan,
darkies,
yellow, whatever colors, mix it all up and make some kind of a soup color, then you water down that. Well, in that way, you'll water down anti-Semitism, anti-Israel. That would be the theory, I suppose.
No.
Well, if he's Jewish and is in Israel first, or then his allegiance is to Israel, and he wants to clamp out anti-Semitism, which is basically, antagonism or non-acceptance of Israel.
At the same time, his cohorts to the right side of Israel firsters, gleefully have spent the last 20 years going, look at Europe's rising Sharia law Islamification, and they're all anti-Israel. So if that logically doesn't make sense either, because Europe is now on the scale much more anti-Semitic as a result of very mass migration policies that they encourage. So you do come back to, again, quickly, chaos for its own sake. That the Machiavellian part is the chaos of it is. You want the end in itself.
Yeah, it's baseline division of society, basically. Division along ethnic lines, because you're one thing you can be sure of is that if you ever need to or want to keep them fighting, quote unquote, keep them fighting among themselves, so that they're not fighting against us, or keep them at odds with each other, so that they're not at odds with us.
Ensure they're not homogenous.
Ensure that there's division or ethnic divisions and religious divisions within any given society, and then you can more easily put, it's those others that are the cause of this, right?
And the easiest way to then do that, to make sure that there's the infighting so that there's never a unified front against them, is to create the facts on the ground that there actually is a large group of people in your country who are
that's what immigration is for.
Doing
that's where you get to the Machiavellian thing beyond the economic thing. I mean, the economic thing probably served its purpose, because, like we said, it goes back to Clinton or beforehand. So bringing in immigrants, cheap labor, and all that kind of stuff, did at that point, let's say, or didn't make sense that it acted as a stimulus to the economy, because if you don't have enough workers, then you don't have as much productivity. You just don't have enough manpower in the country.
That's an open question, though. Like, was there actually that kind of a problem? It's like, for example, the H-1B visas in the U.S. Was it that there wasn't enough intelligent people, American citizens, were there not enough intelligent coders or whoever for STEM stuff to be able to fill the roles that were needed? No. The industry needed H-1Bs in order to drive the prices of their workers down. It's not that there wasn't enough workers.
But that's the economic.
It was that they were high. The wages were higher than the companies wanted to pay, and so they brought in these guys. So it's not like
that's the economic.
So when they say we need the cheap labor, it's like, well, you don't need it unless you're saying you need it because you want to drive up your profits higher.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah, and that's
but that's undermining the long-term stability of the company itself.
Exactly. It's greed and short-term over
long-term. Yes, exactly.
Stability. What Fink was tipping his hat there to Eastern and other developing countries and saying, basically, you had the foresight to hold fast and not fully embrace the neoliberal economic model of the assumptions that went into it. But those assumptions, they held on to them, and they held them as sacred tenets of an ideology. because they were lying to themselves. It was short-term greed and profit.
Narrative. It was narratives. Narratives are where all bad things happen.
What a mess. What a mess.
So yeah, but I feel sorry for those ICE guys in a certain sense, because like they've
they really think they're fighting the good fight.
Well, yeah, and I don't think they are, to be honest. Maybe they are. I mean, I don't know. They are and they're not in a certain sense. Depends where it goes. They
yesterday looked like an accident. It wasn't just a trigger happy cop.
Yeah, it was.
Did he shoot because his buddy said gun and his buddy was correct? The guy was possessing a weapon and he just shot him.
No, well, I don't know. I don't know, but that's not very good training. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, you have a guy on his hands and knees basically on the ground with 3 or 4 guys holding him down. His hands are out in front of him. One guy then comes in while they're struggling to keep him on the ground basically, and his hands in front of him. You can see them for most of the time right up until he's shot. His hands are out in front of him. On his hands and knees. Another guy runs in, starts searching him, reaches over him when he's on his hands and knees in the ground while these guys are holding him down, and searches around his waist and pulls a gun out. Pulls a gun out from under his coat or whatever, or from a holster, whatever it was on, and walks away with it. The guy who shot him saw that happening, seemed to freak out that there was a gun, but can't have missed the fact that his buddy took the gun away and just shot him 10 times. 1, then step back, 1, 2, 3, 4, something, and then another 5 after taking a couple more steps back. I don't think it happened. Some people are saying that as this guy pulled the gun out from around the other side of his waist, that it accidentally discharged, and that was the first shot you heard, because it's very hard to see that was the first. But you don't really see any recoil. I don't know if much recoil, but you don't really see any recoil. I mean, in the video, it's not that easy to see, but it's just very hard to say. The only out that this guy who shot him would be that his buddy fucked up basically, and in some way or other discharged the gun, and that freaked them out, and they thought that this guy on the ground had done it, and then they shot him in quote unquote in self-defense, which is reasonable in that situation. But if that guy's gun didn't, if the gun that the ICE guy had taken off the victim, if that didn't actually discharge, and this guy with a black pointy beanie hat who did the shooting, if the only reason he has for shooting the guy on the ground was because he saw he had a gun and went, holy shit, he had a gun, my buddy just took it away, I better shoot him in case, well, I don't know, for the crime of having a gun that we've just taken off you, who knows.
What about my Second Amendment?
Well, that's the thing.
The US is in a real
but that's different. Like, people are using that in a certain sense, and Second Amendment, but that's not what the Second Amendment was for, right? And it depends on your perspective, obviously, right? I mean, the Second Amendment is to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right? So if the government ever goes rogue...
well, the government went rogue on him.
On him? Well, that's the problem. So it's different perspectives. There's 2 different perspectives. But it's mostly conservatives who are Second Amendment pushers for Second Amendment, and who they'd be the ones who always, their vision of that of the amendment and the rights that it gives people is to protect against a government going rogue against the traditional values of America, which are fundamentally conservative.
But does a liberal who has a concealed carry permit,
technically, from that perspective,
does he become a conservative because he has one?
No. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's obviously there's quite a lot of liberals or Democrats who have guns. This guy had a gun, and that distinction that very sharp distinction of left and right doesn't fit in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? But so many people are holding up Kyle Rittenhouse, as an example, of this is the same thing. Like, they're saying, like, well. So people are criticizing this guy, the victim, saying that he put himself in danger. He endangered he's basically...
Who takes a gun to a protest?
Exactly. Who takes a gun to a protest, right? Well, Kyle Rittenhouse took a gun to a protest, but that only goes so far, because in this situation, this guy, he took a gun to a protest, but he wasn't brandishing, he wasn't using it, he showed no intent to actually bring it out and threaten anybody with it. He was just filming ICE.
Nor was there like mass looting going on in the immediate vicinity at the time.
No, but the difference here is that even though he took a gun to a protest, he was taking a gun to the protest, whatever, if he had some intent to use it or whatever, he was going to use it against law enforcement. He wasn't going to use it against law enforcement, but if it was ever going to be used, it was not going to be used in support of law enforcement. The Kyle Rittenhouse situation was Kyle Rittenhouse was out in support of law enforcement.
Yeah.
He was out there helping. In this situation, this guy would have been helping ICE by threatening the protesters, because that's what Kyle Rittenhouse was doing. So people using that analogy are stupid. Anyway, it's very, because it doesn't work.
We can agree, though, that obviously you get your, depending on your values and your perspective, you'll see it one way or the other. But this time we can all agree that the official White House stance on this is completely fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Stephen Miller, a would-be assassin, tried to murder federal law enforcement. And the official Democrat, so I presume he means Governor Walz,
on Democrats,
sides with the terrorists.
Yeah, but that's just nonsense. Like, you know,
okay,
that's really crass. Like, they don't care at this point when they put that kind of shit out. Like, DHS immediately after it happened put out a statement on their X account and elsewhere, I suppose, on their website, basically saying that. Let me just look. I'll just quote it for you here. What they actually said, which is ridiculous because, you know, you can. Where is it? Yeah, here it is, and this was put out yesterday, within an hour or two of the shooting. At 9:05 a.m., as DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for violent assault, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. What does that make it sound to you? If you hear that statement that an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, what image does that conjure up?
He was threatening.
He approached them with the gun.
He was approaching them with the gun. Where was the gun? If
he was approaching them with the gun, where was it?
In my mind, when I'm hearing that statement, he's brandishing the weapon and he's pointing it to, and he's drawn it. Yeah.
Right. No, because that's not the only way you can interpret that statement.
It's true, which is why it's brilliant.
The way it's being presented by US Border Patrol is like, because obviously they can't be saying that because that's not what happened. So the wiggle room is that, yes, he did approach them with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. It just happened to be hidden under his coat. Securely enclosed in a holster. But he did technically approach them with a gun.
And he approached them because they actually walked towards him.
Yes.
So him standing still and them walking towards them was actually him moving the earth towards them.
Correct.
Which is why you can then say he approached these guys.
The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. None of that's true. So they put that out. It's still up there. That's their official narrative. And all of the videos show that is absolutely 100% not actually the case at all. And they're literally lying. And they don't care. Because this is for the greater good. This is a lie in the service to the greater good, which is somebody has to do something about this, because this is something, like so many other things that Trump is dealing with, he inherited all of them. He was just landed with a big steaming pile of shit, basically, on his first day in office, and he's been having to sort through it. It's not his monkeys, not his circus.
Start this war.
It's not his monkeys, not his circus, but the monkeys and the circus are parked in the White House, and he's trying to get rid of them.
He tweeted, all caps, he had a gun. Only criminals carry guns in our streets.
Wow.
Second day.
Is that true?
We need law and order.
Is that true in America? Only criminals carry guns?
Only criminals carry guns in the streets.
Second Amendment.
Fact check.
Second Amendment.
My brain just exploded.
Second Amendment.
Fact check, Second Amendment. How many criminals are there in America then? Quite a lot, no?
But it's like a lot.
You see the irony here, he's tweeting like a mad New York liberal.
Yeah.
Only criminals carry guns, because that's in the world they live in. That's
right.
And then the more extreme, they sometimes twist that to the extreme. That includes the cops. You know, ACAB, only criminals carry guns because the cops are criminals. But whatever, we libs don't. And that Trump is coming from that's his liberal heritage there. He couldn't help but say that. Of course. The layers of assumption behind that are, in the Liberals' perspective, we want to be more like European and other countries because the state monopoly on the use of violence is entirely the states. It's a monopoly. That's what it ought to be. Trump is coming from that position there. He had a gun. Who carries guns on the streets? Only criminals. And like someone tweeted that at NRA. Over to you.
Yeah.
So I think this.
This is a problem that goes back a long time, and it's to do with
too many guns.
The radical. Well, no. Well, I don't think it's too many guns. Maybe is it? Who knows?
I don't know.
Whatever. That's the old gun debate.
He shouldn't have gone to the protest with a gun. I suppose that is the common sense. Everyone could agree on. You shouldn't go to the.
But that's a new thing. That's a new thing in America.
What, carrying a gun to a protest or not carrying a gun to a protest?
No, the idea that you should not carry a gun on the streets of your city if you have a license for it and it is permitted to carry a gun that you own and have a license for on the streets. The idea that you should not carry that anywhere has not not always been true. I mean, it directly infringes here you have to do value, or you have to do kind of like you have to make judgments about specific situations. But there's plenty of people in the US who are Second Amendment freaks, basically, who would reject that outright. That you should, for any reason, not decide not to carry your gun where you're legally entitled to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, coming back to reality and out of abstraction and theory and all that kind of stuff, yes, it's probably, in the current context, it's a very bad idea to carry a gun to go and confront ICE agents. We're finding that out now. We're also finding out that it's a very bad idea to try to drive away from an ICE agent who's standing in front of your car when they tell you to stop.
Live and learn.
So it comes down to be afraid of law enforcement, at least in this particular situation. Do exactly what they say.
Yeah.
Always. Or you might die. I mean, you can try and stand on principle and say, no, my rights mean that I don't have to do this, that, and you're dead.
Yeah.
No, your rights don't matter at all because you don't have any because you're dead. In fact, you've got many more rights now because you're dead. You're less restricted.
You still owe taxes, though.
Yes, you still owe taxes.
On the bigger context for the US of this project of deporting the illegals / the criminals, the subset of the illegals. Trump was pretty clear this week when asked. So this is obviously before the second shooting incident, but the optics of the first one, plus the statements he's given before this. No, I'm just going to have to read it. My computer froze. I can't give Scotty this. Anyway, he emphasized in a statement at the White House this week that he only wants to see illegal criminals tracked and deported, not illegals per se.
For sure. You can't.
And he actually said we need to have a bit of heart about this. Which is interesting because in the background, there's apparently a shakeup in the agency, in ICE, as reported by Fox and the New York Post, suggesting the opposite. That border czar Tom Homan, who we don't hear much about anymore, remember he was big and front and center during the campaign. Homan and ICE Director Todd Lyons have lost out to DHS Secretary Noem and Senior White House Advisor Corey Lewandowski.
You mean Border Patrol Barbie?
Border Patrol Barbie. They are pushing for a broader and more aggressive approach, allegedly. Barbie and Lewandowski.
Aggressive approach to what?
And Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, the guy we've seen in the SS-style jacket, trench coat. They're the ones pushing for a more aggressive approach, targeting anyone in the US illegally to boost deportation numbers. So there's obviously a heated discussion going on at the moment about where to go with this. in the end, it might just be that 2 and maybe 2 or 3 more to come incidents are going to basically tarnish the whole project, and they have to go back to doing it on the QT and no more aggressive in-your-face stuff.
But Trump likes aggressive in-your-face stuff. That's how he operates. He operates with a really big show.
Oh, we'll see.
You know what I mean? That's how he makes things happen. He talks a good game and he puts on a good show, even if there's nothing really behind it. You know, he thinks that if everybody believes something or gets behind something, then it's going to happen magically all by itself.
Maybe, but in the meantime, you could have a insurrection situation, and not just in Minneapolis. Again, this second victim was white. If the third one is black, remember 2020.
Yeah. No, the black Americans have they know too well already. They're too smart. They've been there, done that. Not doing it again. Let the whiteys take some hits.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, white liberals. Get in there. Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Get in there and sort things out. Did you see, speaking of Homeland Security, there's a question we have for you, Adam. We'll just play this. Homeland Security, which is run by, seems to be operated, at least their Twitter account. The Department of Homeland Security's Twitter account is run by, midwit cryptic philosophers or something. Wannabe philosophers. They posted this a few days ago, yesterday.
Is it the Penguins?
Yesterday, yeah.
Oh, it's the Penguins.
So have a listen. This is basically a little excerpt from a documentary by, what's his name?
Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog, a filmmaker. He made a kind of nature documentary about penguins in the Antarctic, and this is it.
But one of them caught our eye, the one in the center. He would neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
Lots of some DHS.
We should clarify that's before DHS got a hold of that and added those footage at the end. Someone else put the Auslander Rouse theme tune to it to, I guess,
make the point
of the pioneering, enterprising spirit of the white race, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they're trying to make, so my question to Adam is, since DHS posted this on their page.
I actually run that account.
You do?
So
you do know why.
Yeah.
So they wrote on the top of that, what we just listened to, Americans have always known why, because the last part of the voiceover is, but why? Why was this penguin not staying with the colony, not going to the feeding grounds, but heading off to these distant mountains on his own to certain death? And they said Americans have always known why.
Yeah.
So, since you're an American, can you tell us why? First of all, just tell us straight up. Let's be literalist about this. Tell us why the penguin's going that way. Because I'm just going to be literalist about it. Because Werner Herzog asks, why is this penguin doing this? And the Homeland Security tells me basically, and everybody else, that Americans know why. So why is the penguin doing that?
All right.
You're an American, you know why.
So there's this little thing between the ears of the penguin,
right?
And it's called its brain,
right?
And every so often, a penguin's brain doesn't work properly.
Right.
And
it makes it do stuff like that.
It makes it do what you would think is a stupid thing on the surface.
Right.
But actually, if you had followed him
You would have found out.
You would have found out. If you'd
that
have,
there's a cave in those
if you had
mountains.
just fucked around with the penguin, you would have found out what he was really doing.
Well,
And that was...
he was going to a cave in the mountains where there's lots of fish.
Exactly.
Okay.
He knew a shortcut.
So that's the real reason.
Exactly.
No. So his brain doesn't work properly. That's your answer. So that's the literal answer to the actual documentary. That's your answer anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not what DH is talking about. This is kind of metaphoric, or it's an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So the penguin is an American, not a real American, not just any American, a real American, which would be an American that supports ICE and supports the Department of Homeland Security. So the penguin is heading off, and the mountains are an analogy for adventure.
Greenland.
Something. Greenland. Okay. So as an American penguin,
Mm-hmm.
you're an American penguin now, right?
Why?
Why are you as an American penguin, or American in the spirit of this penguin?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you heading off to the mountains and leaving the colony and the feeding grounds and stuff into danger? Why are you doing that?
To protect the feeding grounds
From
the Russians and the Chinese.
I see.
By conquering Greenland.
Okay, so
do you see it's all of a piece now?
I do. I understand that analogy now. So another analogy is
penguins are not in the Arctic.
That's irrelevant.
Okay.
It's irrelevant. They're frosty.
Whenever you
creatures.
think of like the North Pole, you know what you think about?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus,
And a penguin.
polar bears, penguins, seals,
that kind of thing.
Okay,
So
we have two suggestions here in the stream. The penguin was going to McDonald's like Trump. Okay, possibly. The second one is the penguin is expressing his identity. It's disappeared. Can you read that out, Scotty? They're coming in faster than I can see them.
The penguin is expressing his identity of rugged individualism to the point of death.
Rugged individualism to the point. Very general though, because this is obviously by DHS, and it must be a message that they're trying to send to about the current climate in the US and what's going on in the US. So, in that context, the penguin is an ICE agent.
and he's hunting illegals in the mountains.
Right. He's not staying at home at the safe feeding grounds.
No, because he has to protect them.
He's going out there, which is what I said at the start of the show. You all can't handle the truth. That while you're all asleep in your beds, you want us on that wall.
There's a penguin.
There's a penguin on that wall. a DHS penguin on that wall protecting our freedoms. He's going to the mountain. He's not on the wall, he's on the mountain. He's getting a high point and he's observing the whole environment in order to stop illegals coming in.
He's ready to slide on his belly and do like the surfing.
The surfing thing.
And he's armed to the teeth.
And he's armed. So, and another analogy, okay, now the penguin's an immigrant.
Uh-huh.
Americans know why. The penguin is an immigrant and he's leaving the safety of his home. Maybe it's not that safe. And his colony. And he's heading to the far off mountains, which is America, the promised land, in search of something better. Which in that case means that the penguin should be shot.
Yeah. Because they were told if they got in the way of the penguin, he was just going to keep trying to get in illegally.
Right.
That gives you one choice.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but what do you do?
You see, the food for thought that DHS gives us with a simple penguin. Penguin. Anyway, well, that cleared that up, I think.
I think it was expressing some ideological commitment. We're going to see this through no matter how many voices, how many protesters there are at home, how many voices abroad tell us. Maybe
when you use an analogy like that, how important is it that the analogy that you're using at least
clear?
Well, no, that it matches with what's actually happening in the video, for example. Is that important, or can you just can the message you want to send be completely at odds with what's actually happening in the video you're using to portray that message. Because, for example, if you kind of went literally, you'd be like, if that penguin is true-blooded Americans, ICE agents and stuff who are leaving their comfort and going out, and fair enough, but that's not a good way to try and portray that, because what's actually happening there is the penguin's, like you said, brain doesn't work. And while he doesn't think that he's heading off, he's not deciding anything, his brain just doesn't work. But what's happening is that he's heading off to his death pointlessly. So can we use that, actually what's actually happening in that video, and
to then describe,
transpose that onto ICE agents who are actually heading out into the streets
on a pointless endeavor.
That may end up in
civil war,
in the death of the country.
Food for thought.
That's why I think there's too many holes in that. It wasn't well thought out, and I think they need to work harder on their
messaging.
The messaging, it's not good,
They are, though. Good news is they are working on the messaging. This is only tangent. I don't know if we want to jumping ahead, maybe, but DHS apparently spent the first half of the week in conversations with their colleagues at FEMA, urging them not to use the word ICE, if possible, when talking about the coming winter storm, because it, quote, might spark memes regarding ICE actions in Minnesota. Let's have a listen.
You also have some interesting reporting on guidance that FEMA was given about messaging for the storm.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So I've learned that Homeland Security officials have come to FEMA staff and told them to limit the use of the word ICE in their public messaging and social media posts when talking about the storm. The concern is obviously the connection between the immigration enforcement that's happening across the country, particularly in Minnesota. And what they are worried about here is that by posting something like, watch out for the ICE, that it's going to become an opportunity for a meme, for internet fodder, for public ridicule against the Department of Homeland Security. So they're asking FEMA staff, if you can, don't use the word ICE, try to use the term freezing rain. But part of the problem here, as I talk to agency officials about this, is they're saying, what we're talking about is ice, and what we're talking about is saving the lives.
Yeah, no, when you say freezing rain, that makes me think, oh, I'll put on a raincoat. It doesn't make me think ice.
Right, and what we're largely talking about, and I'm not a forecaster, but this is largely an ice event. And a lot of states that I've talked to are saying what we're preparing for is destructive ice that could damage power grids, cut power to a lot of homes, and wreak havoc on roads. And it is pretty remarkable that Homeland Security is saying, please try to avoid using that word.
Because they're afraid of memes. Meanwhile, lives are on the line. Another incredibly idiotic story. Thanks so much.
Watch out for the destructive ice. Yeah, I can see how that wouldn't. It would be memed, but maybe and freezing rain. Yeah, it doesn't get it. Like, I mean, what about if you just said, "Watch out for the hard, cold, transparent stuff."
Watch out for the frozen water.
Frozen water. Just go frozen water.
Just go with frozen water.
Water.
I do have a question about the reliability of this information, considering it's coming from CNN. I do have some questions.
But it shows that DHS is, taking this messaging seriously. That was the reason I brought it up now.
Because there was a number of, I saw a couple of police departments within the United States who were using it, trying to get the messaging across as the difference between sleet and freezing rain. And they were, because they're police departments, using the analogy of donuts. And they were saying that sleet is like sprinkles, and you just, you let it hit the donut and it just, bounces off the donut. But freezing rain is like the glaze. And so when it hits the donut, it sticks to it. And then, that's kind of worse, because once it hits it, then it becomes like a big frozen donut, a very glazed donut. And so it's like, I don't know. I just thought it was really funny. Police departments joking about donuts. A little self-awareness there.
Yeah.
That's lighthearted, at least. But the point's made. Point's made.
It's not politically correct to use the word ICE right now. Traditionally conservative institutions are falling back on wrong speak or even microaggressions. Using the word ICE could be seen as a microaggression to actual ICE agents. If you say like, watch out for the destructive ICE, then ICE agents might be offended by that. So using the word ICE,
say you're now on a terrorist database.
Yeah, well, they might just get offended and try and cancel you or something.
That's the thing that does make me think that maybe there is a possibility that it's actually something that, like a directive that DHS gave to FEMA, is the fact that similar things have come out as far as like regarding messaging and things and the microaggressions and all that stuff, and taking it to a ridiculous degree where you're like, the core assumption is that the general population is so stupid that they can't differentiate talking about weather and police officers, or in the case of like previous administration, the difference between like, talking about one thing and something entirely different.
I think that's harsh on the general population. I think it's more like a self-consciousness on the part of the current authorities, that they know the optics of what's just happened twice are bad. They know the poll numbers are bad. And they're trying to, like, in a way we don't quite understand with the DHS Penguin video, ginny up morale in the mission. However that's defined or taken to be what exactly that is. The United States is inherently a liberal place. Even the conservative, they end up being very liberal. Like 90% of everything is messaging. You get that in Trump economics. It's the perception of the dollar, the perception of our power that's all important. And there's some truth to that, because markets and global responses do calibrate. They do move to those things. The perception, like in Venezuela, the perception of what took place there versus actually what happened there is the messaging to Americans was that awesome, super badass Delta Force special forces came in there, were totally unharmed, probably bullshit, swooped in, use high-tech, super duper cow pow discombobulator weapons, and dismantled everyone, killed everyone on site who was a threat, and pulled off the mission. That's literally what they were told. That's the messaging. That's 90% of what happened. The 10% of what actually happened in Venezuela is different. It's totally different. It involved underhanded things that they don't like to admit themselves. Even the common sense conservatives, bribery, recruiting traitors in the target country over the long term. Bribery and blackmail is the main MO, and then the rest is optics, theater, kabuki, kayfabe. Like it's like U.S. exchanges with Iran over the last few years. It was kayfabe, So as abroad, so at home.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, I've said a long time ago actually that 50% of America's power in the world is, and has been for a very long time, based on its reputation as this super powerful country that can do all this kind of stuff, and a lot of it's just, they've lived significantly off that reputation. They've had a lot of compliance and people towing America's line, all that kind of stuff on the basis of the potential threat from America, not any actual threat, the unrealized threat from America. We can do this, we can do that. No one really ever tested them, you know. In that respect, I mean, they obviously did put a lot of effort and money into, you know, maintaining their global reach and hegemony, and it was backed up by the implied threat of their military power, and that was enough, you know. Kind of basically, you know, a lot of it's all talk, you know, and has never been tested in the field.
Yeah, it's talk, but this and where it is substantial, where it has basis, real world effects. The real world effects are dirty, and they don't want that in the messaging.
Mm-mm.
But it comes out. So Scott Bessent in Davos couldn't help but gloat that what got the protests rolling in Iran was that we saw to it that Iran's currency, the rial, crashed following the 12-day war. And that's when the protests came along in December. So it's substantive. That's power. Wow. But they don't really want to talk. He said a quiet part out loud there, and it won't get repeated too much. We've noticed it. Others online will notice it.
It's
not headline news. It's not, yeah, we're America. Let's make a DHS montage about it.
You can listen to it here.
You know?
No, they haven't gone that far yet, but they might. I mean, anything's possible, because that's Trump's policy. Trump's policy seems to be to, you know, pull back the curtain on it all. Here's Bessent at the WEF.
I want to say about sanctions, something else you've been working on, of course. What are you planning there in terms of Iran and the impact there? Do sanctions actually work? And the same question with regard to 500% secondary sanctions or tariffs on countries who purchase energy products from Russia.
Okay, so two things there. There are Treasury sanctions. And if you look at a speech that I gave at the Economic Club of New York last March, I said that I believe the Iranian currency was on the verge of collapse, that if I were an Iranian citizen, I would take my money out. President Trump ordered Treasury and our OFAC division, Office of Foreign Asset Control, to put maximum pressure on Iran, and it's worked. Because in December, their economy collapsed. We saw a major bank go under. The central bank has started to print money. There is a dollar shortage. They are not able to get imports, and this is why the people took to the street. So this is economic statecraft. No shots fired, and things are moving.
Yeah, no shots fired, economic statecraft. We collapse our economy through sanctions. Of course, he didn't go as far as to say that we also have people within the country stoking protests and violent protests against the government, etc., and that they're not representative of the vast majority of Iranians. But you know, that goes without saying, because that's the reality as well. But you can put a lot of pressure on a country by, you know, messing with their economy, and you can seed, let's say, some protests, normal protests, in any country, where if you're able to, you know, damage the economy of that country and make it difficult for that country to, you know, get natural resources or to operate in the international markets effectively and get the supplies that are necessary. There could be shortages, all that kind of stuff, and you may provoke some real protests. But those would be protests just about from ordinary people in Iran, and they wouldn't be intending to burn mosques and storm the Iranian government offices and burn them down. Right, they would just be protesting
ambulances and fire trucks,
right,
and so on.
Right, they wouldn't tend to do that because of that. They would just be, you know, protesting in the normal way protests happen. But strangely enough, in these countries that America targets, the protests always turn really violent and seem to be targeted against the government. You know, like as in take down the government. You know, I mean, in Western countries, it's people are out in the streets protesting about government policies, etc. But then they just protest and then they go home. They don't try and, like in London or in the UK, they don't try and storm the House of Parliament or Whitehall or 10 Downing Street and you know, drag the Prime Minister out and lynch him from the nearest yard pole. But that happens in these barbaric countries, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So Iran published a list this week, they said, of the damaged sites. So this is in the space of like 4 days of intense rioting around New Year. 305 ambulances and buses. So the mayor of Tehran says that's a quarter of their ambulances destroyed just immediately. Gas stations, hundreds of convenience stores, 750 banks, 414 government buildings, 749 police stations, schools, mosques, libraries, churches, bus stations, ATMs, and, well, private cars. Private cars would be kind of thing. They'd be the easy target. You know, if you had an actual spontaneous riot like you see in European cities, especially like Paris around New Year's Eve, it's almost just a New Year's Eve thing. And every year it's 1,000, 2,000 cars get torched. That you could almost understand in a, let's say, exuberant protest turned riot. But the targeting of other sites in the hundreds, like that's not just an organic protest because my wages are a bit low.
Yeah.
The Iranians also published their numbers, which, you know, no one's going to hear or believe because the internet is flooded with farcical numbers, up to like 80,000 Iranian protesters killed by the regime. It just goes up and up. Why not 6 million? Just keep going. Why stop there? The Iranians say they have an exact number. It's 3,117 fatalities. And they say a breakdown of that is 690 of those were what they call terrorists. So extremely violent rioters, organized. We've seen the footage online with satellite phones.
The people who were actually shooting at the security forces.
Yeah, shooting at them.
With Kalashnikovs and handguns and...
Picking out random people. Some of them security, some just random people. They just killed whoever. So yeah, it was short, but it was brutal. It did look like that was meant to happen, to coincide with some strikes from Israel or the US. We've already talked about how that was obviously stood down and how upset Lindsey Graham was last week when he heard the news that it was not happening. But, you know, who knows? This could be preparatory. If you've knocked out that many ambulances, you soften the place up for a hit the next time. And
the difference, at least from the point of view of now versus a couple of weeks ago, when it was supposed to have happened, and until there was that message in the middle of the night saying stop. The difference now is there's way more U.S. military planes, boats, and so on in the region.
Yes. Yeah. Trump said many warships moving to Iran just in case. The US has deployed a submarine to the Gulf as well. And then there are other knock-on effects like KLM cancelling flights to Israel and the region. So yeah, this could still be on, but how they're going to have to come up with a new basis for it, because the riots in Iran are controlled now. In the meantime, reports of Chinese military aircraft still landing in Iran. 16 this week.
How many Russian?
Don't know.
I know there was some Russian planes coming in to Iran as well, and you were saying KLM has stopped its flights to Israel, but then there was also like Air Canada and I don't know, a dozen other airlines have stopped their flights to the region as well, which again, coupled with the buildup of military equipment, U.S. military equipment in the area, does make it seem like something's still on. But then, like you said, without the protests going on, it doesn't end with all of the, because it's been like hundreds every day, at least that I've seen, that the Iranians are capturing. like the people who were involved in engaged in violence during the riots. It's not infrequent that I see dozens, if not hundreds, every day, where they're capturing them, arresting them, showing all of the stuff that they've captured, and it just makes you wonder, like, what's the play here? Because there are things that are set up for it to happen, but also the reality on the ground is so much different than before it had started that the play has to have changed, and yet it doesn't seem to have changed. I don't know.
Yeah. We wondered after the show last week, you remembered that something about ISIS in Syria.
Oh, yeah.
That seems to have escalated this week. So pro-Jolani forces / ISIS have chased the Kurds out of northern Syria and freed a whole bunch of ISIS people who were being held in camps, I think in Idlib. And now they're out, and they got the ISIS flag waving in Raqqa again for the first time since 2017, when the US declared Raqqa ISIS free by bombing the place. So almost 10 years later, Raqqa is now held by ISIS again. But are they Jolani's people, or are they not?
Well, that's the question that I had.
I'm wondering if this is to do with Iran,
because
flooding them into Iraq
exactly.
to flank Iran.
There was
that they might use Jihad Inc.
At least what I saw, there was the fighting that it had been going on for at least a couple of weeks, I think, between the Kurds and the Syrian forces, the Syrian government forces under Jolani, and at one point there was at least 2 prisons where the Kurds held these prisons. They were the one who were operating these prisons. They were guarding the people that were held there, and they were being shot at. They were being bombarded, and there are apparently like U.S. forces. They called it international coalition forces nearby, and the Kurds were telling them, "We're under attack. We've got all these ISIS people here. We need help," and the international coalition forces did nothing, absolutely nothing. And obviously, because they were being shelled, they were being killed, they then left. And so someone then let all of these people out. Now, the messaging from the West was that the Kurds did it as they were leaving, but since they were being shot at before and the international coalition didn't do squat to help them, I don't think that's right.
No.
I think it's more likely that there were maybe unmarked forces who were doing the shelling, who were trying to get the Kurds out so that way they could release the ISIS prisoners and then have them go wherever they were going.
The whole idea that Jolani has control over all the jihadis that are operating within Syria since the US put Jolani, the head chopper, in power is ridiculous. You know what I mean? So obviously, I'd say the most likely thing is that those same lots of ISIS members who are supposedly part of the Syrian military under Jolani are the ones who actually just went and let out all as many of their comrades as they could, and the US tried, I think, to try and stop them, and they were talking about airlifting a bunch of them out of Syrian prisons into Iraq to take them to Iraq. Will it be more more secure? But
there was a press release by US CENTCOM saying that they had launched a mission to transfer ISIS detainees from northeastern Iraq, so maybe not the same pocket as around Aleppo. This is more like the other side of the Euphrates, on January 21st, to help ensure the terrorists remain in secure detention facilities. The transfer mission began while US forces successfully transported. You'll have to scroll down. That's DD Geopolitics commentary on the press release. Just go down there. Okay, so that's them saying we moved a bunch of them. Ultimately,
Into Iraq,
yes, from Syria into Iraq. Ultimately, up to 7,000 ISIS detainees could be transferred from Syria to Iraqi control facilities. That sounds like the mass movement of jihading to me.
Yeah.
So why Iraq? Because Iran. I think it's possibly a flanking move.
Well, there's other developments that are currently going on in Iraq specifically because there's parliamentary appointing going on in Iraq, and
their old prime minister is coming back.
Yeah, so
al-Nuri,
but they are trying to prevent Iranian-backed groups in Iraq from getting any kind of positions within Iraq, within the Iraqi parliament. And those guys are, I can't remember what the name of them. There's so many freaking groups in that area. But there is a very, very, very large contingent of Iranian-backed militias within northern Iraq. And these guys are part of
the popular mobilization units.
Yeah, exactly. Who were fighting against ISIS
under Soleimani.
Soleimani.
And they're still there.
Which means it would be the first target, I would think, as far as who these ISIS guys would be targeting, would be them.
Yes. Okay, so proxy. It's still the level of proxy. This isn't about invading Iran or something.
Yeah, no, because there's a huge swath of area there in northern Iraq that are like, kind of like controlled, but not really controlled. It's more like there's enough of them there that go on.
Yeah. It's this is stuck in the craw of neocons since March 2003.
Yeah.
When apparently, I don't know if they're that stupid, but when in their memoirs and in their interviews about it since then, they do speak as if they only realized after invading Iraq that the Shia majority around Baghdad and south were always going to be aligned with ideologically, religiously, culturally with Persia, with Iranians.
Because they're Shia.
And that was, and so actually, I don't know if I can find the clip now, but literally the Western gentleman historian par excellence, Neil Ferguson, there's a clip of him going around now making the case that no, look, I know we messed up in the past. We have to sort Iran out to correct the mistake we made in 2003 when we went, hang on a second, shit, Iran gets more powerful by us doing this. Apparently that's dumb, because if they just looked, there's maps, so you can look at maps. There's one really cool map that I saw going around last week where it shows it's a zoom out of the region and you see the modern boundaries of Iran, and then they show you in other shades of the same color of varying intensity, and there's an index next to it, the extent of Iran, Persia through the millennia. Current Iran is the smallest it's ever been. Historically, for the longest period, almost all of what we call Iraq was Iran.
Half of what you call Pakistan, half of what you call Afghanistan. Azerbaijan didn't exist. All of that was Persia for over 1,500 years.
Yeah. Chunk of Saudi Arabia.
Like,
and not in ancient history. That's even more recent. So I think these guys are sort of obsessed with Iran in part because of that mistake of 03. But then maybe that's giving them too much. I don't know, maybe they always wanted to do this, but I suppose in more recent history, what they remember is an Iran that was super allied with the Western system that accepted Israel. They, in their minds, it's not so grand. They just simply want to go back to pre-1979. From 53 to 79, they had it good. Iran was uber Zionist, and that is it's extreme opposite that they produced accidentally. That genuinely accidentally, they're trying to undo that mistake, I suppose. but they're playing with they're playing with something that is bigger, historically is bigger than that. I still think they're still going to do something. They're still going to go for it.
Yeah, for sure. They're just biding their time.
Chances of success
For Iran?
for the regime changers.
Not without serious consequences.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, whether they're successful or not, they're going to probably cause serious consequences for the world.
Yeah.
Israel will be front and center, get involved, and it's going to get it in the neck, basically. So, but yeah, we talked about the discombobulator. Trump actually said discombobulator, and Trump is he is the discombobulator.
He is a special weapon.
Yeah, he's a special weapon. It's not that here he is saying it to Fox News.
It just was the right time to do it. We had to do it because it's a war. We're losing 300,000 people a year. We don't lose that much in a war. Okay, if you look, and we had to do it. But he was in a house that was more like a fortress than a house. It had steel doors. It had what they call a safety space, where it's solid steel all around. He didn't get that space closed. He was trying to get into it, but he got bum rushed so fast that he didn't get into that. We were prepared. We had, massive blowtorches and everything else that you need to get through that steel, but we didn't need it. He didn't make it to that area of the house.
I didn't say discombobulator in that one. Anyway, Trump's talking a load of nonsense there, obviously. I mean, everybody with any sense right from the get-go saw that this was an inside job. Maduro was basically sold out by people. And, what do you call her? Delcy Rodriguez said this week that basically the US told her and the others in the government after Maduro was captured that they had to basically, not respond, not do anything, just play nice or they'd all be killed. So what do you do in that situation, But on top of the discombobulator, you have the Department of War bros. Pete Hegseth probably penned this one himself. Yes, the Department of War has directed energy weapons, so that validates the discombobulator, right? Light speed lethality, directed energy dominant. Dominant lethality at light speed. It's so much America.
Lasers.
So much space lasers. And we are scaling them. So yes, the Department of War has directed energy weapons, we're scaling them. And that really means they have one that's the size of a matchbox that shoots about 2 inches in front of it and can set one of the matches on fire. But we're scaling them. And yes, they'll scale them over the next 100 years and then they won't work. So much. I
want to know.
I mean, if you want to, being cynical about this, after Russia using the Rezhnik and all this talk about Russian weapons that they actually apparently seem to have, cruise missiles, nuclear-powered cruise missiles and all this kind of stuff, and Poseidon submarine launched kind of basically like little mini subs that had dirty nukes on them, and their hypersonic missile Rezhnik and stuff. This is just like cope. This is cope response. Like, we've got light speed directed energy dominant too, and we can do it, and we're going to scale it. I mean, it just seems
we've got sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their heads.
Yeah, because people who have that and are confident about their ability to use it don't talk about it. They don't go, look what I've got. Aren't you all afraid? And it's like, it seems to me that the reason you're saying that is because you want us to be afraid. Just by saying that you have this stuff. Like, you better watch out because I got some stuff that'll make you afraid. You afraid yet? Do I need to say it again? So it's all bravado, and it's Trump's philosophy. Part of it, Trump's personal Don Rowe doctrine is say it and it becomes reality. You know, it's like back in the day, Karl Rove, 2003, talking to, what do you call him? Who's he talking to? You give it to
Suskind, New York Times journalist.
Ron Suskind said that basically we're an empire now and we create reality. And when we create reality, you just get to observe. You think that events transpire out of like normal cause and effect. A cause and effect dynamic, let's say. But that's not how it works. We create the reality, and you get to try and figure out what just happened after the fact type thing, and figure it out. And you'll try and figure it out, but by that time we'll have moved on. We'll be doing new stuff that you don't even know what's happening. So, I mean, that comes with that's obviously a lot of grandiosity there and a lot of self-delusion and self-belief and stuff, but it's part of the it's an outplaying of the American dream and the American mythos, basically, that we're the awesomest, bestest ever, and all we have to do. Trump's an example of, he's a product of that, basically. So it's like he's talking in that same way, as if manifest destiny is America's, and all he has to do is, it's already
will it into being.
Yeah, will it into being. You just say it, basically, and then it's true because it's already true, but people don't know it. It's like we're the most awesomest, greatest, most invulnerable country in the entire world. No one can come anywhere near us, and the real problem is that people don't believe it. So I need to get people to believe it. So I'm going to talk about it in those terms.
Whereas before,
the problem is, yes,
an earthquake will happen, and you'd be left guessing, or
I don't even know if that was America,
and you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in the domain of the overt government. I'm here. I'm talking about the overt government. And Warbro Pete Hegseth talking about, about these, this light speed lethality, directed energy weapons and stuff like that. I mean, he's obviously this is kindergarten stuff. You know what I mean? If you subscribe to the idea that directed energy weapons exist and all different types of exotic weaponry exist, but basically it's not in the armaments of the standard American military, then fair enough. But that's not where Trump's coming from, and that's not where Pete Hegseth is coming from. He's a fucking Fox News anchor, right? So they have no idea, and all these people operating within Trump's government and stuff are operating on that basis of not really. They're not insiders, and they have this. They believe this narrative, obviously, that America is the greatest country in the world that has ever existed. But the problem right now is that people have lost faith. Ordinary Americans have lost faith, and the way to get that back is to remind them how awesome it is. So we're going to talk up a lot of things that are frankly a load of bullshit, but it's not really bullshit, because it's kind of like, again, it's reality creation. It's like, if you will it, it'll become reality. But there's a problem with that, obviously, because if you don't actually have this capability, if you're not as awesome as you say you are, then you're going to get everybody G'd up. If everybody takes on that messaging and starts to believe again, and then you get a groundswell of public opinion to support you in your, making the world great again type thing for America, then you're going to be emboldened to push forward with that agenda. But you're going to find out too late that actually, you're not as awesome as you thought you were. All this capability that you've touted is, not quite as capable as you said. So it's very dangerous in that respect. But that's how America works. I mean, that's how capitalism, business, all that kind of stuff works, right? You just talk up how awesome. I mean, they have good reason to believe that that's how it works, right? I mean, at least from the business point of view, and Trump just transfers that to the governmental and even military point of view. It's like, make a shitty drink that's, just a carbon copy of 20 other drinks that are out there, but make this one go viral, get everybody talking about it, everybody buys it, and you've just made $10 million. What's not real about $10 million in my bank account? I just sold it all. It happened. So that's how it works. That's how all reality works. Talk it up, get people to subscribe to it, to buy into it, and then you win.
Like penny stocks.
Yeah.
Well, at this month's preeminent global governance conference, Davos, Mark Carney went one step further than he did last week by just going to Beijing and announcing a strategic partnership and, quote, New World Order, and gave this speech that has got people talking. Not going to play it here, but it's only 15 minutes and well worth listening to. It's funny because Trump's first reaction to Carney's sensible-ish speech was, oh, yeah, if Canada wants to make deals with China, that's cool. But by the time Trump landed in Davos himself, that's not what he was saying. Here's a short clip. Nope, I can't get it. Yeah. My browser's acting up. Oh wait, here we go. Try it now. It's only short. It was a long, rambling speech. I mean, Carney's was succinct, and there was obviously some thought put into it. And Trump got on for an hour and just, here's 20 seconds, a little message for Canada.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. They should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Remember, you see the way his voice goes all like creepy and Palpatine-like? It's just me. It kind of breaks off and gets a bit, he's miffed, Remember that, Mark, next time.
Remember why you need us.
And then, why you need us. And then to the rest of the room, another statement, maybe not directly following, but within the same rambling speech regarding World War II to the room full of Euros, of course. Without us, you would all be speaking German or a little Japanese, perhaps. Again, so much murk out of it.
So much murk.
Love it. Yeah, no, by week's end, he was pissed, and he's now threatening 100% tariffs on Canadian exports into the United States.
Bullshit.
But Carney's speech wasn't just, the tit for tat in the trade war. I mean, that was like, I was impressed because people have since, they're cynical. I know you've reason to be because of Carney's background, but he got a standing ovation to a speech that said, you know what, the last 80 years, we've had it good under Pax Americana. He didn't say Pax Americana, but he mentioned hegemony twice, so everyone knew what he was talking about. The Americans helped, sea lanes be open and to facilitate global trade, and here we are in a globalized world. And it was a good bargain, but it's no longer working. And basically said we've all been, lying to ourselves because the rules were good as long as they were good for us, but then sometimes we saw some victims basically get slammed and thrown up against the wall. And now it's not working anymore. And so Canada is going to try and forge a middle ground, blah, blah, blah. Middle powers need to respond and cooperate in a world where basically, I suppose he was referring to the big three. The big three just do as they will. And he quoted the Greek Thucydides, those who with power do as they must, and those without will suffer the consequences. So he gets the moment, and he describes it well. So then after that, cynics were like, well, come on, they're all just, he's just repeating the tune. But the thing is, he got a standing ovation, but the people who followed him, so Macron, Merz, I don't know if Starmer spoke, they didn't have anything like a speech like that.
Mm-hmm.
Merz got up there and said, yes, Greenland, very important. And the Americans are right. We NATO must get up there to Greenland because the Russians and Chinese. That's not the point. That Carney was saying, those are the lies we've all told ourselves as to why we do what we do. So the others just repeated the boilerplate bullshit. They didn't get, or they heard it and they got it and they chose not to yet. So either way, Carney's he stands alone at the moment, but God knows how many of them are actually thinking that. He pretty much said as much. We've all been saying this in private, everyone thinking this, but we've decided to make this actually government strategy and policy. And he backed that up. Carney left Switzerland and flew to Qatar and announced a announced a $290 billion strategic investment package from Qatar into Canada, marking one of the largest foreign investment commitments in Canadian history. So I suppose that's, the walk following the talk. He didn't just make his bull speech and go home and wait for the tariffs to rain down on him from Washington, D.C. He went next to Qatar. He'd gone Beijing, Switzerland, Qatar, then back home. And apart from Bart de Wever, who's Belgium's prime minister, who kind of rejoined and supported Carney by saying, the thing about, being happy vassals or in slavery too. The rest of the tone at Davos was kind of like head in the sand stuff. So the Euros are floundering. German government statement this week: Poland owes Germany $1.8 trillion in reparations for the Nord Stream blast. You're like, what the fuck? Oh, we're not friends anymore over that. I thought we were all agreed that Russia was the problem. Apparently not. The 1.8 trillion figure is exactly what Poland claims from Germany for World War II reparations. So you can see the handbags are flying there. Macron, the sunglasses. Trump got something right. He said, what is up with those sunglasses? He's got this is kind of like the last of the liberal light, when the British media is big upping Macron as the last hope for the old order. It's a headline in the Telegraph here. Can Macron's sunglasses save the West?
It's,
And their columnist Guy Kelly writes, testosterone is the primary currency in Davos this year, and the French president's aviators have placed him at the top of the pecking order.
Really?
Again,
so if you want to be top of the pecking order, just put on some aviators? That's how low politicians.
You just go dark mode, like Dark Biden, and then the libs are like, yes, the band's going to make it. No, Mark Carney just came and said the liberal order is dead. Mark Carney, the fucking liberal, the embodiment of liberalism, said it's over, guys. What a farce. And in the middle of it, I suppose this is Trump. Trump grandstanding, or Trump trying to do two things at once: keep Europe coward and make his mark in global affairs. He didn't talk about Ukraine much while in Europe, but he launched his global peace board, Gaza peace board.
Not many signed up for it.
No.
The lackeys.
But they had Kushner do a little PowerPoint presentation. And then Trump followed up. And for me, this is peak America. But just listen to the first half minute or so of Trump's statements following Kushner, who said, what we can build, it'll be amazing. Gaza look like a beach resort.
But I said that, this is a great location. It all begins, I'm a real estate person at heart, and it's all about location. And I said, look at this location on the sea. Look at this beautiful piece of property, what it could be for so many people. It'll be so great. People that are living so poorly are going to be living so well. But it all began with the location. That's the vision. They look out on the waters, and very few places.
Yeah. It's just grotesque. But
Location.
It's grotesque, and I strongly suspect Trump knows. Of course, he knows what that amazing location is going to be built over, but it's never going to happen. Not the way they think, anyway. Witkoff and Kushner were there, of course, and then they flew on to Moscow from Switzerland, and met with Putin. Witkoff, Kushner, and some third guy.
Yeah,
never heard of him.
Didn't recognize.
The Russians are still validating, entertaining the Americans on everything, on this initiative. Trump said Putin was invited. And Putin said, yeah, we're thinking about it, which wasn't like a total rebuff. I don't think the Russians are going to do that. In fact, at the time, before Witkoff came, and while Trump was in Switzerland, I forget his name now, the head of the Palestinian Authority was in Moscow.
Abbas, yeah.
Abbas.
I liked that you had all of those guys there talking about what they were going to do with Palestine, and there wasn't a single representative.
Yep.
Whereas the actual
I don't think
head was in Russia.
Right. The actual.
So Putin was like, rather than being like, so here's what we're going to do with your land. He was like, what can we do? What can we do together? And yeah,
exactly. That's the difference. Trump, the real estate agent, with some of my best friends. When he looks out across the 12 people who are on the stage with him. In fact, I can say I like all of them. They're my good friends. And not one of them was an Arab leader. Were there any other Western leaders? I think there were Central Asian presidents.
Azerbaijan. It's Azerbaijan, Neil. Come on.
Orban was there.
Okay, Orban. The good lackey.
Yeah.
The World Economic Forum, it's a great reset, but it's not quite what people thought it would be in 2020. Klaus Schwab is dead, and now Trump can land and use it as springboard for his initiatives. We've got dissenters, Carney, and in the middle of it all, of course, entering as he arrived, the topic of the day was still Greenland. But apparently by the end of day one of Trump in Davos, he had spoken with Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, and a deal was made. At least that's been the end of it. There's been no raging headlines about Greenland since then. So I think something happened there where most likely our blink on it was Trump was aiming high, threatening invasion and full annexation, and all caps, total and complete control. The Danish PM's on the phone going, no. He arrives and he talks to Mark Rutte, of all people, and then the gist of it, as reported in the press, was, something like increased mineral rights and more rights to like bases where the US will have de facto sovereign control. So there'll be no domestic interference on little pockets of Greenland. And that's been the last word on it. The hysteria on that's calmed down.
That's all it's going to be from now on. Periodic hysteria.
Is that the art of the deal? Trump threatens the most extreme, but then he's offered, well, what about, mineral rights here, there, and a couple more bases? Sure, okay, yeah, sounds good. That's what he always wanted. That was it. That was the extent of it.
Yeah, that's
what he's always done.
It's called the ridiculous art of the deal that apparently works because you use strategic ambiguity. But how that even holds up after you've done it like 25 times in a row, it's like you make big threats. But it's because there's the potential always that Trump with,
could.
Again, the American mythos of the American military and the American military power and all that kind of stuff could actually do what he's saying. It's an outrageous claim and it would be an outrageous thing to do. And you are probably correct if you go, he's just bullshitting in order to try and get us to agree to something much, much less extravagant. But you never know. He might just go ahead and do it. And that's it. Like it's the attitude. It's like a crazy person, It's
a watered down version.
You get what you want by going up to
mad dog.
Yeah, mad dog. Yeah, you get what you want by going up to someone and convincing that you're completely crazy and you'll do anything.
Yeah.
And they kind of don't know, but they kind of maybe believe you. They like to think you're bluffing. They suspect you're bluffing, but they can't be sure because you're willing to do something to kind of prove that you're a bit crazy. You know what I mean? Like I'm crazy. I'll do anything. Don't cross me. And you like just to make the point, you like threw yourself through a glass pane of window or something, and then come back in and go, you see, I told you I was crazy, so you better do what I want. Now give me your house.
Meanwhile, grannies in Greenland are having nightmares, and Trump's in them. He's coming to invade them and riding on a polar bear, like the Economist cover this week. Did you see that? I didn't think it was legit. I thought someone was spoofing. The actual cover of the Economist is him on a polar bear. Obviously, a reference to Putin on a brown bear. There was a power outage in Greenland yesterday, though.
Short one, yeah.
There's something happening between. How serious is this? I'm seeing analysts talk about it, so there's obviously not official level stuff, but there does seem to be a split in the Middle East. It might be worth watching between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. There was a statement in at least in Arabic, allegedly by the Saudi government, accusing the UAE of being a Trojan horse for Israeli interests in the region.
Mm-hmm.
So that may come down to different attitudes towards what next for integrating the Middle East into China, the East, versus an outcome that the Americans and the Israelis want. That's one to watch, because it's not. It's like, who knows how that works? Maybe you know the history better than I would. Like, the UAE is like essentially it's part of the same family. It's the same clan or tribe as the Saudis, the House of Saud. It's just a breakaway. It's just another.
Oh, they're all crypto Jews. No, yeah. They're just rival tribal gangs from back in the day. I mean, it's all made up. Like, I mean, whoever gets on first is the one who rules, and then they maintain themselves as power. But they're dictatorships. Don't forget that they're dictatorships, basically.
Yeah.
There are no elections, and it's ruled by decree, but supported fully by the West from their inception, from their creation, largely created by Western powers, facilitated by Western powers, and have been in allegiance with Western powers ever since, and that includes Israel, obviously, despite all of their kind of like public or feigned kind of disagreement with Israel or no diplomatic relations with Israel and all that kind of stuff. It made that it's like, made no difference whatsoever. Over Palestine. They're just doing it just because it's politically correct to do it. But they don't really care. UAE and stuff has been called and has been the CIA's playground for a very long time. The whole region, all areas of the Middle East in and around Israel, all countries that are friendly, i.e. not war-torn, i.e. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, are Western outposts. That's why they never had any war. That's why, and the ones who've had war and had terrorism and all that kind of stuff, and ISIS and all that kind of stuff, are the ones that were not part of the Western not under Western influence.
Right.
They were not Western allies. It's pretty obvious. It's a relatively small area. Mm-hmm. War here, not here, for decades.
Yeah.
No war. War right beside.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the tribal stuff and
Shia versus Sunni. Yeah, it goes back thousands of years.
Bullshit.
It's all them Shiites.
It does tend to be those who don't submit, though.
Yeah,
there is something to that. Sunnis tend to seem to find it much easier to go, sure, just where do I sign the check? Because Iran is a resource rich, always has been, but then why did it put up this fight for 40 years, and will it be worth it in the end? That'll be the worst thing if you go through 40 years of this shit, of principles, stands, and economic sovereignty, only for it just to be like caved in the end. That I hope there's a compromise where they can still reasonably maintain, maybe like we're going to see in Venezuela, maybe, where they just forego the regime change operation and killing 1 million people, and get some compromise on both sides.
Do I want the compromise though?
There's a queer tweet here. I was trying to get my head around this. I did see the first one, so it's two things at once. You're going to see a tweet from Richard Grenell, who's kind of a special envoy for Trump, sort of a roving ambassador at large. That's from the week before. So Grenell writes, I helped sneak gays and lesbians out of Iran. And for the first time ever, someone has said, I just want to wait a bit. There is real hope coming from the inside. I don't think you can stop this now. This was probably, yes, before Operation Save Iran was called off, at the peak of the hysteria in the West about war.
That was
they want us to come. They want us to come. So that was the week before. So if you go down then to this second tweet, this is from this week. ICE under Trump is going to deport dozens of people to Iran, including 2 gay men previously arrested by the regime who faced the death penalty for their orientation. So this is obviously a guy who's angry with that Trump ICE are going to deport 2 gays. Meanwhile, Grenell is doing what he can to import Iranian gays.
Is that tweet for real?
The second one.
No, about
Grenell's
importing.
Yeah,
gays.
I saw that.
I thought it was obviously bait to people like who are all going, get take down Iran, free the Iranian people. And he's like, hey, I deport or I extract gays out of Iran and bring them to America. No, fuck you, fuck the Iranians. I mean, it seemed to be so obviously kind of a red flag, to troll basically the pro-Iranians.
I'm gonna look for it.
It was a similar thing.
I think it's a legit tweet.
I thought it was legit too.
It's kind of tone deaf, though, isn't it? It's incredibly tone deaf, no? To think that that you would get support for that, you know?
Because your messaging is to Republicans who would be against the gays, and you're saying proudly that you are importing them, which is why I thought that was strange. But it's a similar
not
thing.
just against gays, but against immigrants, like, you know?
Well,
I mean, Americans, Republicans, because it's Trump and stuff, support regime change in Iran to free the Iranians when it's all good, but there's no question that any Iranians, depending on how things go, like, sure, do it over there, free them over there so they can all stay there or whatever, but there isn't really much in the way of immigration of Iran, like compared to other countries, to America right now. You may create it if you fuck up the country big time, but in that case, the Americans who had supported an attack or an invasion of Iran, whatever, would be absolutely against, obviously, any more a flood of immigrants from Iran coming to America, right?
Yes.
I mean, so everybody should know that in the current context. People are dying on the streets of America. ICE agents are shooting people on the streets of America who disagree with them, trying to stop them from getting immigrants out of America.
Mm-hmm.
So you're aware of that, right? So do you think the American people who support that, which is probably the majority, want to have mass immigration from Iran? No. So why would you post about it as though it's some kind of virtue signaling, like in support of a Trump invasion of Iran? That's obviously not what these people are supporting. The Americans are not supporting mass migration from Iran. They're supporting an invasion or an attack in Iran to take out the bad guys or whatever and give freedom and democracy over there. So the idea that you would be so ignorant as to post something and say, hey, yeah, I really support Trump and free the Iranian people, I'm going to bring them all over here. You got to be trolling, no? Or you're a retard.
I found the post. It's still up.
It's legit.
It doesn't mean he's not a retard, though.
No. It 100% means he's a retard. It 100%.
Who is it?
The only conclusion is
Richard Grenell was the in Trump 1, he was an American ambassador to Germany. In Trump 2, his title now is special ambassador.
Special retard?
Special retard to the closet.
Let me see. You'll remember him because he was quite, MAGA-like and barking, pushing the Germans around in Berlin, and they didn't like his aggressive attitude at all.
Is he gay himself?
Oh yes, he's one of only 2 openly gay members of the Trump cabinet. He's one, and the other one is
Lindsey Graham.
No, he's not. No, he's not in the cabinet. I only found out this week. It surprised me because I thought, oh shit, he doesn't come across that way.
Lindsey Graham's is
Scott Bessent.
Oh, he looks.
What?
He is as gay as Lindsey, but openly gay. He has a massive mansion in Georgia somewhere.
Beside Lindsey Graham.
Calls it the Pink Palace. It's fucking huge. And he's super rich. He used to be a hedge fund manager. And he's got $500 million in personal wealth.
He calls it the Pink Palace?
I think it's called the Pink Palace, yeah.
Oh, God.
So him and Grenell are always been gay. So Grenell, when he was campaigning for Trump back in the day and more recently, it was like, gays for Trump. He was the poster child for it. So this is why some left and right in the US, it's all bound up in each other. He's obviously being an ultra liberal in what he's saying there. I'm helping to sneak out the marginalized, the oppressed, and bring them to the shelter of the free world where you can be free to be gay.
Is he not reading? Is he not reading the room?
No.
Is he not living? Does he not live in America? Is he not a member of the Trump cabinet? Has he not listened to Trump and has he not watched the popular opinion? Does he live in Gayland? In Gay Dreamland?
No, it's because
he lives in the Pink Palace?
They're so oppressive in Iran. So we have to back it here because of the oppressive regime, which was similar.
He got massive pushback on that when he first posted it. The vast majority of people were like, "No fucking way, man! What are you talking about? Fuck you."
It's because they're not enlightened.
Keep your No, they're Trump supporters.
It's because they're not enlightened.
But this is Trump and his supporters, and this is Trump's cabinet member.
Yeah.
So who's not on the same page here? All of them.
Everyone.
He was Trump's DNI for 2 years, from 2018.
Oof.
The position Gabber's in now. What is this? Yeah. Yeah, his current title is Special Presidential Envoy for Special Missions.
Special.
Well, the very first thing he did this time last year was promising. He was flying to Caracas and he was negotiating for the release of Americans who'd been arrested there for attempted sabotage and assassination missions during Trump 1. Biden left them there. Trump said, first thing, I want Grinnell fly out on a plane like day after Inauguration Day. And they were bigging it up, Well, Trump's like, we can make a deal with this guy, It's looking good. And now a year later, look what's happened.
Yeah. None of it makes any sense, and it's going to increasingly not make any sense.
It's contradictory
as times go forward. As the weeks and months go on, there's going to be a lot of nonsensical bullshit coming down that just make you go, what?
Yeah.
What is actually happening here? Everybody has lost the plot, basically.
Even the penguins.
Even the penguins. Anyway, yeah. Is that it?
I think so, yeah. How bad is this storm in the US?
Meh. Nothing burger.
They've seen it before.
Hype. Everything's hype as well.
Even
That's why a lot of things, stuff isn't going to make something. Not only is there going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense going forward, increasingly doesn't make sense, as it has already been doing for the past several months or most of the last year, but it's going to be a lot of nonsensical stuff that just makes you go, what? And it'll also be hyped up to the max, which will be part of the nonsensical aspect of it. The point being, there'll be a lot of nonsense spread via official channels that make no sense whatsoever, but they'll be spread
with increasing fervor
up the wazoo. They'll be repeated over and over again. It's one thing for a bit of nonsense to leak out here and there or whatever, or a lot of nonsense to be quietly just happening, but it's going to be pushed into everybody's face, and everybody's going to be encouraged to believe that the nonsense is absolute rationality and logic. And everybody on social media will be fighting over it, over what's right and what's wrong. And the sane people just be standing back going, really? Y'all are retarded.
This is retarded.
On both sides.
This whole show, all this news is, some of it makes sense, but most of it is,
nonsense.
Complete nonsense. Someone who used to make good sense of things was Michael Parenti. He passed away yesterday.
His book was amazing.
Which one? He ever wrote a bunch of great books.
The one
he's like old school lefty, Marxist scholar, where he could be objective, and he give it away where he's his own bent on how things are. You could see it and go, oh well, I'll forgive you that.
Yeah, his book on Julius Caesar specifically.
Super.
When I read it, was phenomenal.
Super. In the end, he still thought, well, Caesar was still a patrician family, so he's one of the elites. I don't know. Well, okay, he was good guy. Don't trust them. So he was still frank and working class man about that. But fair play to him. 92 years old. Definitely more on point than Chomsky, who's still with us. But Chomsky got all the accolades. But Parenti said it straight without the abstraction and the bullshit. And he said conspiracy theories are usually valid. The very fact of not talking about, who exactly did a thing and just talking in the abstract about structural forces and blah, blah, blah. Parenti had no time for that. He would name names. So he was probably much more like I don't know what he thought in recent years, but he would have been a genuine kind of populist figure, I suppose. Hence his admiration for Caesar.
What about all those Spanish train crashes? Yeah. Looks like the likelihood of that is just I mean, obviously you can't put them all together because they're so the Spanish train crashes were so there's 4 or 5 maybe different incidents. One crash, another kind of crash, and then more smaller incidents over about 4 or 5 days. And in different parts of Spain. And obviously, you're not going to say that there was all some conspiracy or whatever to make those train crashes happen. The big one that happened, if that was on its own, you could wonder about what the actual cause was because of the details of it. But when you put the others all coming together, very coincidentally and very unlikely, probabilistically, very, very small probability of them all happening within that short period of time, but they did. So the most rational explanation is that it's just a strange coincidental manifestation of crappy real infrastructure, at least for some of them.
Yeah. In one case, it was torrential rain and a retaining wall fell.
Yeah.
That, at least, has a proximate. You can see it.
Yeah, except that's still infrastructure. Yeah, that's infrastructure, yeah. But the others you can look at, there's other, infrastructure explains them as well. If you're so inclined.
Things are going off the rails.
Ooh, Neil, that's deep.
What about the sighting over the ice facility in Minnesota?
Oh yeah.
It's
like saying that's literally like someone saying almost, not literally, but almost like saying there was a sighting of the moon over an ice facility.
It's true.
For midwits who don't know that the moon can be seen from most parts of at least the northern hemisphere, at the same time. So saying, and it looked like it was probably a breakup of some kind of debris, maybe a satellite, just based on the way that happens.
I think someone
kind of like
pinpointed it. Huh? There were 2 re-entries expected around that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody, people should argue about it. You should get 2 people, at least 2 people on X or something to argue about that. The guy who said it was over the ice facility, and then a guy one state over who also saw it beside an ice cream facility. And then they could argue with each other and say, no, it was over the ice facility. No, it was. I saw it over the ice cream facility 100 miles away.
F you, so you're a Trump Nazi.
It was over mine. And then they could shoot each other.
That's where we're at. Yeah. No, that thing was special because I was involved. I've got a joke.
You do?
Or do you?
Finally.
Do you want to?
Finally.
A Jew dies and meets God.
It's anti-Semitic.
But it's... No, it's about the real problem.
Oh, yeah, okay. The real problem, which is the Jews, yeah. Go on.
No, yeah. No.
I know what you're saying. Go on.
Have you seen it? Have you heard the joke?
Go on. A Jew what?
A Jew dies and meets God and asks him, is it wrong to commit a genocide of Palestinians? Yes, God replies. Damn, says the Jew. Anti-Semitism is more widespread than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Which he's right. He would be right.
Because God is anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
As Rabbi Shmuley was suggesting.
Why did the toddler not want to take a nap?
Don't know.
Because he was resisting arrest.
Very good. Resisting arrest. Why do birds fly south for the winter? It's faster than walking.
True.
And what does a storm cloud wear under his raincoat or under his pants?
What does a who wear under his pants?
What does storm cloud wear under his pants? Underwear. Anyway. Time to go. Definitely time to go.
On that note.
On that horrible, horrible joke note. So we'll leave it there for this week, folks. Thanks for listening, watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week with another chat on whatever nonsense has been going on between now and then. So until then, have a good week. See ya.
Bye all.
Bye.
Can't stop the signal now.